Good afternoon. You are in time for the Lunchtime News. A very warm welcome to the broadcast. My name is Irene Mchuma Odem. On sign language interpretation, we have Brian Muraro. Let's interact on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1. Our top focus this afternoon, President William Ruto has lauded Kenyans who have invested abroad for marketing the Kenyan brand. The head of state says hard work and an eye for opportunities beyond Kenya's borders makes Kenyan investors exceptional. The president spoke when he visited Swahili Village, a Kenyan-owned restaurant that serves Kenyan delicacies in New Jersey in the United States.
In his walking tour in the United States, President William Ruto visited Swahili Village in New Jersey, a restaurant owned and run by a Kenyan businessman, Kevin Onyona. The restaurant serves majorly Swahili delicacies.
You've hustled your way into this great investment. And we've come here to celebrate what you're doing, and you're doing it very well. The food is awesome. The ambience is on another level. So congratulations.
President Ruto praised Kenyans in diaspora for their hard work and dedication.
Our very best wishes as you continue to invest in this country and build a bridge between Africa and the US and the rest of the world, because in any case we are one humanity.
The head of state says the success of Kenyans abroad has propelled the resolve by his administration to intensify Kenya's foreign relations efforts with the aim of broadening opportunities. Ruto, who is on his fifth day in the United States, also visited the Kenyan mission in the neighboring state of New York in New York City and also held talks with the U.S. Senator Chris Coons on matters security, counter-terrorism, climate change mitigation, and the promotion of human rights and democracy. Give us minor Lunchtime News.
Third Way Alliance Party wants the government to reveal details of the funding of the ongoing bipartisan talks at Bomas, while calling for the restructuring of the public finance systems in 30 days. The party has threatened to institute legal action against cabinet secretaries who flout financial accountability laws. In a memorandum outlining 7 ultimatums it once addressed, the party also wants Parliament to enact a law that criminalizes attempts to stall online government accounting systems.
As the debate on the cost of living continues to stir mixed reactions from different groups, the Third Way Alliance political party has punched holes into government expenditure and the financial accountability systems. The party is proposing the implementation of 7 proposals that include revealing to the public the amount of money being spent in the bipartisan talks, publishing government expenditure and commitments online, and allowing the public access to the Integrated Financial Management Information System, IFMIS. The party has demanded for the implementation of the proposals within 30 days, further threatening court action against cabinet secretaries to force their resignation. Meanwhile, the Anglican Church of Kenya, Kisii Diocese, has expressed concerns of a continued increase in cost of living and the recent increase in fuel prices.
We are praying for the affected families and urge the government to find clear strategies to reduce the cost of living.
The church leaders further decried rising incidents of insecurity, calling for the intervention of security agencies. Serafina Robi for Lunchtime News.
Now, the Ministry of Gender has launched the National Protection Against Domestic Violence rules amid grim statistics on gender-based violence cases that show a spike of the vice and alleged injustices for victims. Gender Cabinet Secretary Aisha Jumwa says 40% of women silently suffer from gender-based violence, while another 43% of women believe a man is supposed to beat his wife. Jumwa says the rules will prevent, intervene, and provide holistic support by agencies and the community at large. The rules also seek to hold accountable would-be perpetrators of gender-based violence.
So when we have the laws, we also have to sensitize. I mean, the skit here today showed a policewoman that was a bit insensitive, you know. It was a bit comical. That person who's coming is so aggrieved, is broken.
It not only impacts negatively on their physical health, but also on the mental health, and may lead to self-harm, isolation, depression, suicidal attempts, and domestic violence meted on children.
The rules emphasize the importance of prevention and early intervention. They underline the need and responsibility by legal duty bearers to handle survivors with compassion.
The Ministry of Health has warned the public about an increase in waterborne diseases due to the expected El Nino rains projected to hit the country from October. The ministry has also begun various mitigation measures, including public awareness and mapping out flood-prone areas ahead of the rains. Public Health PS Mary Muthoni noted that the ministry was working with other stakeholders to minimize the effects of the floods. Muthoni said the counties are also working on clearing drainage systems while identifying areas that had been affected by the floods in the past.
Are very keen on surveillance right now, and we are doing a lot of sensitization to the masses so that where we are detecting that there's going to be water logging, we clear it. If it is an issue of infrastructure, they are rectified right now, and that is already happening. It's not something that we are planning. It's already happening, ensuring that the masses who live on areas where there's likely to be a lot of water logging, they move to higher grounds, or we build on trenches that are going to clear the water away.
That goes beyond this.
A family in Igwamiti ward in Laikipia County has been thrown into mourning after a Form 3 student committed suicide. Ruben Mbugwa was a student at Action Secondary School, went missing, but his body was retrieved from a nearby dam. Locals are now appealing for mental health interventions to avert similar incidents.
A village, a distraught father is mourning a promising son snatched from him by the cruel hand of death. Ruben Kibe is said to have committed suicide after throwing himself into a nearby dam. Nahashan Kibe says his son was a bright student up until Form 3, where he started showing signs of distress. Attempts to establish the sudden change in behavior were fruitless.
Sijui ni shida gani ambaye alipata huyu kijana. Sijui ni mafikiria. Alikuwa akifikiria sana. Nilirudi nikapatwa na jeraha ati ametumbukia kwenye dam.
The families in agony confronted not just by the loss of a young soul, but with questions of what led to the disastrous outcome.
Na kwa dakika hii sasa tunaomboleza. Sina nguvu. Serikali simunisaidie pale nimefika.
Sijui ni nini ilishika yeye. Juu hii maneno ilikuja tu kwa ghafla. Kabadilika tu na kufika kujitoa uhai. Sasa hiyo ndio kitu ambayo inatushinda. Nini ilitokea?
Na hakuna shida alisema kwangu ati inamkabili kwa sababu hata hakuwa ameadhibiwa shuleni.
Locals want authorities to institute mental health interventions targeting teenagers as it will serve as a remedy to such occurrences.
Ni vizuri hata sisi wanaume tunajua tunajifanyanga sisi ni wangumu, na unakuta sasa wanaume ndio tunajinyonga, unajiua. Ni vizuri mens tuongee. Ukiwa na shida rohoni kwa mafikiri yako, ongea. Ambia mwanaume mwenzako. Na wewe mwanaume ukiambiwa mambo na mwanaume mwenzako, wacha kupeleka nje. Kaa na hiyo maneno, tusaidiane.
Yusufar reporting for Lunchtime News.
High school boards of management have raised a concern over delayed disbursement of capitation to schools by the national government. They say this delay has affected operations in schools, noting if the situation is not remedied, school heads will have no choice but call for an early closure of schools.
In Kiambu County, more than 140 secondary school boards of management chairpersons called upon the government to disburse capitation when the school calendar is on course to avert operational challenges.
Serikali pesa ile inapeana ya kusaidia wasasi ipeano na wakati ufao na iwache kupeana nusu kwa sababu saa nyingine serikali inapeana pesa na mkono huu inachukua na mkono huu mwingine.
They say while many Kenyans know that education is free, schools have been forced to ask parents to pay money to run their activities.
Kwa hivyo tungetaka serikali iwashe unafiki wa aina ile, na kama wanapeana hii pesa ipeanwe na iendelee kufanyishwa kazi katika shule na kama wangetaka wasasi wasaidie waseme kinaga ubaga mzazi alipa pesa hii badala ya kujifisha na kusema mzazi elimu ni ya bure lakini mzazi amebebeshwa mzigo umesiti.
They say there is a probability of closing down schools due to lack of money to run the various school activities. Speaking during Board of Management Chairperson's meeting, Kiambu County Parents Association Chair Samuel Wanjema said some schools have had to increase school fees after the consensus between parents and the board. They have also called on the Ministry of Education to give directions on how examinations will be conducted, noting the new curriculum has many practical examinations with facilities in most schools yet to be established.
Fedha pia zinahitajika zikuwe kwa mashule, kama kuna laboratory ambazo zitaweza kujengwa kwa hiyo mashule, kama kuna viwanja ambazo zinafaa kujengwa kwa hizo mashule. Unajua kama ni mambo ya michezo ni lazima kukuwe na viwanja na ni lazima zitengenezwe. Kwa hivyo pia serikali kwa mambo ya fedha ni lazima waweze kutoa in advance ili mambo iweze kusonga vizuri vile inafaa.
Unajua kutakuwa na shule ambazo zina kitengo tofauti ambazo zitakuwa sasa mambo inadeal na sayansi, wengine watakuwa wakideal na hesabu na wengine watakuwa wakideal na designs, kila kitu hata arts. Kwa hivyo tunataka serikali kwanza itupatie hiyo mwongozo.
Beatrice Gatonyengetich, Lunchtime News.
In other news, the Kiambu County government has announced a switch to solar energy for street lighting to save the county millions of shillings spent monthly on electricity bills. Kiambu Governor Kimani Wamatangi says the county government gets a monthly electricity bill of 142 million shillings, which translates to 1.7 billion shillings annually for street lighting, and it could soon reach 200 million shillings a month due to rising power tariffs.
Kiambu Governor Kimani Wamatangi revealed that the county currently pays a staggering 1.7 billion shillings annually for street lighting, with fears that the rising power tariffs may soon push these costs to 200 million shillings a month, necessitating the switch to solar energy.
Tukiweka mataa ya sola na tayari mimi nimenunua yangu ya kuwekea bure. Ninaanza utaratibu. Tukimaliza hizi barabara yote
during the groundbreaking event for a new level 3 hospital in Kahawaskari, Governor Wamatangi also announced plans to construct 13 new level 3 hospitals at a total cost of 650 million shillings to enhance healthcare services across the county. The governor is considering putting community health promoters on the payroll, recognizing their vital role in delivery of primary healthcare.
Kwanza ni mshahara yenu iko kwa mshahara yangu, iko kwa payroll yangu, kwa hivyo tunamalizana na mambo ya kuomba mshahara. Nimesema CHP lazima atambuliwe ya kwanza kwamba yeye ndiye daktari wa mashinani. Ama namna gani jamii?
John Junge for Lunchtime News.
Stakeholders in the Mara, the Lake Victoria Basin are calling for the speedy implementation of the Mara Basin Memorandum of Understanding between Kenya and Tanzania on utilization and preservation of the Mara Basin. The memorandum seeks to create a water users forum in the Mara Basin as a way of helping restore and preserve the transboundary water resource. The stakeholders spoke during this year's Mara Day celebrations held in Tanzania. Achola Simon with the details.
This year's Mara Day celebrations was held in Serengeti, Mugumu town in Tanzania, with calls for enhanced collaboration between Kenya and Tanzania to help safeguard the Mara Basin that is home to millions of Kenyans and Tanzanians.
Mto Mara ni njia muhimu ya kudumisha umoja wetu na ujirani mwema sisi wana Afrika Mashariki. Mwitikio huu ni dhahiri kuwa sisi ni ndugu wenye nia moja ya kuhifadhi na kusimamia vyema rasilimali za maji za bonde Mto Mara ambao ni kiunganishi cha umoja wetu.
Hizi za Mto Mara zimekuwa zikiazimishwa kila mwaka kama ilivyowasilishwa na msemaji wa wizara yako. Zimeanza kwa muda wa miaka 12 iliyopita kwa azimio kutoka kwa baraza la mawaziri la kisekta linalosimamia kamisheni ya bonde la Ziwa Victoria.
Stakeholders want the two countries to implement the sectorial ministerial memorandum of understanding that directs the two countries to form a water users forum in the Mara Basin as well as Mara River Transboundary Water Plan to help in proper utilization, planning and preservation of the basin.
That we should be having a day every year to celebrate the Lake Victoria as a lake, and that this will bring more than 2 partner states. Now I have got cause to push for this very seriously, and I'm going to lobby all my colleagues to make sure that we shall have a day, and I'm sure all of us will be there.
The Mara Basin feed into the famous Maasai Mara Game Reserve in Kenya and Serengeti Game Reserve in Tanzania, providing jobs directly and indirectly to millions of residents in the two countries. The stakeholders want a more collaborative approach with the community around the basin to help safeguard it.
Kutoa elimu kwa jamii kuhusu umuhimu wa kutunza vyanzo vya maji pamoja na kushirikiana na jamii kama vile jumuiya za watumia maji katika kuibua miradi mbalimbali ya uhifadhi wa mazingira na utunzaji wa vyanzo vya maji. Nimeweza kuona katika mabanda hili kwa nchi zote mbili. Wenzetu wa Kenya wameweza kutuonyesha na hata vifaa mbalimbali vilivyoweza kutengenezwa ili kujiongezea kipato na kuacha kwenda kufanya zile kazi kama za uchomaji wa mkaa ama kukata kuni na kuweza kutunza mazingira.
It was the 12th Mara Day celebration. Achola Simon, Lunchtime News, Kisumu County.
A section of legislators from the bicameral parliament has castigated the recent Supreme Court ruling that gave the lesbians, gays, bisexuals, transgender and queer community the green light to register as non-governmental organizations. While criticizing the ruling, the lawmakers vowed to thwart attempts to reintroduce the LGBTQ conversation in Parliament, even as they called on the religious leaders to intensify opposition to the ruling. The leaders spoke during the celebrations of marking 7 years of Kapsabet Anglican Church in Nandi County, led by ACK Archbishop Jackson Olesapitz.
Niliona Supreme Court bado wana insist that the LGBTQ must be registered at an NGO. I think the Constitution is very clear that marriage is a man and a wife. So nataka tu niulize Archbishop na wewe All Saints mbali hapo na Supreme Court, tafadhali muende muombe majaji wetu ndio aweze kupata Roho Mtakatifu, wasikuwe na Roho Mtakakitu kwa sababu ya wazungu.
Mimi nikiwa nimesimamia kama chair kule bungeni, hakuna kitu kama hiyo nitaruhusu, ama hata maneno kama hiyo tuongelee kule bungeni yetu. Hapana, sio kwa wakati huu. Sisi hii ni nchi ya wacha Mungu ambao watu wanaogopa Mwenyezi Mungu.
Hii mambo ambayo umesema kila wakati LGBT, tafadhali mimi nafikiri sisi wote kama wabunge hakuna siku tutaruhusu nchi yetu tuende mrengo huo. Tunataka nchi ambayo inamcha Mungu na nchi ambayo inaona ya kwamba tunafuata vile kanisa inavyotufundisha.
Let us not be people of Sunday only. Let us have programs that will help our people, our families, ili hata wajengwe kimwili.
A political showdown is looming in Kilifi, pitting Kilifi Governor Gideon Mungaro and Woman Representative Gertrude Mbeyu. The governor has accused Mbeyu of undermining sanitation efforts by the county government after the woman representative criticized a 10 million budgetary allocation for sensitizing locals on public health and hygiene.
Following the criticism by Gertrude Mbeyu, the governor enlisted several members of county assemblies who condemned the Umar Repova remarks. The leaders, while hitting back at Mbeyu, called on her to restrain herself from criticizing the county government and focus on service delivery.
Hiyo Kilifi County, pesa za ngafu zinatumiwa vibaya. Nataka serikali kuu take over, ipatie pesa wa mama direct. Hizo pesa hajulikani zinaenda wapi, tuko na ushahidi. Pesa hizo zinatumiwa na familia mbili ama tatu.
The leaders alleging that she had misappropriated the national government affirmative action funds, calling for investigations.
Tushukuru Mwenyezi Mungu ametupitisha sisi kama viongozi. Kumbuka ya kwamba wewe na mimi kuna watoto ndani ya Kilifi hii ambao si viongozi, wazazi wao watasaidiwa na nani wale?
In what could become a full-blown political war, Governor Mungaro lined up former nominated Senator Christine Zawadi, who is angling to replace Mbeyu in the 2027 general elections.
Mke ni kioo cha jamii, huwezi simama ukatamka maneno ambayo hayashibishi. Kilifi tunashika tutakayo, tunataka utuambie pesa hizi nazo mtazifanyia hiki na hiki na kile.
Area members of the county assembly who approved the sanitation budget have lauded the Department of Public Health Services for the commendable job in sensitizing the public on health matters and the need for proper hygiene amongst members of the public.
Kwa sasa hii dunia tunatoka katika kutibu, tunataka kwenda mahali kwa kujaribu kufukuza magonjwa. Maradhi mengi ambayo yanapatikana katika hospitali, ukikuja pale hapo kwa outpatient, wale wa mama wamebeba watoto, maradhi mengi ni ya kuharisha.
Brandon Som reporting for Lunchtime News.
Former Mungiki leader Maina Jenga has appeared at Makadara Law Courts today for a pre-trial in a case he is charged along with two others on May 2023 for being in possession of an assortment of crude weapons and organizing unlawful assembly. Jenga is, however, out on a cash bail of 100,000 shillings. The ex-Mungiki leader appeared in court hours after he was released by his alleged abductors. According to his lawyer, Ndegwa Njiru, his client was abducted by hooded men in the Nderu area in Kiambu County, blindfolded and taken to an unknown destination. Makadara Chief Magistrate Tito Gesora said he will take action against the unknown persons trying to frustrate the case.
First accused and third accused were again abducted by the police officers. These police officers were wearing boots, concealing their identity. While they were abducting them, they knew that they were supposed to come before you today to answer to the summons.
They were kept incommunicado for almost 36 hours. They were released yesterday. So we wanted Your Honor to intervene. My learned colleague, Mr. Ndewa, will give you more insights about it. But we want this court to intervene to protect the suspects.
Baada ya hiyo mambo yote, mimi niliachiliwa, nikapelekwa, nikafungwa, nikaletwa mpaka hapo Banana, nikaachwa hapo, alafu nikapewa fare mbili ili niende nyumbani. Sasa nilianza kutafuta dudhi.
Suffice to say that no one should be treated or subjected to inhuman and degrading treatment. And if at the end of the day it is demonstrated that there was such treatment and it impacted on the due process and the trial, this trial, then it will definitely, you will know that it will definitely count towards what kind of decision I will make.
All right, to the county of Kilifi, the area county government has become the first county in Kenya to partner with the Power to Learn project in their quest to train 1 million software developers in Africa. The program seeks to empower youth into the fourth industrial revolution and help them grab economic opportunities in the digital space. The project's manager for growth and operations, Mumbi Ndungu, said over 500 youth drawn from all the 35 wards in the county will undergo a 4-month training on how to operate and explore the internet for income-generating opportunities.
Yeah, do your best.
visions for Powerland ni kuhakikisha kwamba hii programu yetu inawafikia wale watu ambao hawajiwezi kabisa. Kwa hivyo tuliona hakuna haja ya kuipeleka mahali ambapo watu wengi wako na uwezo, bali tutafute zile sehemu zingine ambazo watu wengi wanataka kupata programs nyingi, opportunities nyingi zinazoweza kuwasaidia kujimudu kimaisha, lakini hawajapata hiyo nafasi.
Several residents of Maasai Mara in Narok County have benefited from free eye screening medical camp courtesy of the Maasai Rotary Club. The exercise, dubbed Screening Mashinani, targeted over 1,000 patients in Sekinani village who had resorted to indigenous treatment methods owing to the long distance from the village to Narok County Referral Hospital.
Being an eye specialist, we want to see eye conditions. For example, which is so common in Narok, is cataract. We are basically looking for cataract cases in this community. Being a community that's far away from the Narok County Referral Hospital, we thought it is nice. We come here, we talk to the people and find those cases and help them. Here is a condition which is not so known. It causes something called reversible blindness that once we find it, we'll be able to operate and help these people to restore the vision.
We decided to bring screening to Mashinani just to help in more people come for the screening for the surgical camp that's coming up. And the need is huge here. Yeah, we're already getting major cases. The doctors are zeroing on the major cases and the people need help. And we'll be facilitating the people from this village because they're financially challenged to bring them to Narok for the surgical camp for the cataract surgeries.
23 minutes past the hour. Let's take our first commercial break. We'll be back with more news, including ones making headlines in the world of business and sports. Stay with us.
보건복지부 장관이 타겟이었어. 넌 여기서 지원해. 난 본하고 국장님한테 연락할게.
네.
그러니까 지금 학교 강당에서 테러가 일어날지도 모른다는 거예요?
아마도요. 아직 폭탄이 발견된 거 아니니까 100% 확률은 아니에요.
거기 우리 애들이 있어요.
뭐라고? 알았어. 일단 내가 갈게.
Kupumzika ni mbinguni.
Sawa mama.
Ni nani unaita mama?
Pole mzee.
Ni kama hujasikia. Mokaka.
Maja. Ukiniangalia hivi ni ani productive na vile nimesa watoto wengi mpaka huko nje.
Sasa unataka kuniambia baka hii madisi yote wamefinya?
Sio yeye peke yake baka hii wamefinya. Mimi ndio mfinyi tu. Haya basi umemaliza. Kucha sasa univinye.
Oh, nikufinya wewe ni hapa kado.
Nini nakusumbuaka wewe? Mkipatana mwambie akuja nikatakate anikule.
Sasa nasikia kabisa ndaweza achukua tunia nipeleke
chwalo. You are wallowing. Hata nikiusia customers chakula inanukaga use.
Sasa wataka kufanya wewe ndio bora zaidi kushinda huo maneja wangu.
Are you serious?
Tunapatanga mtu anaenda homa kwa tua. Shida ni Wakisii na Sabrano. Mpaka mwizi anauliza, kwani una bunduki gani?
Silencer buda.
Tumetenga viti bilioni 2. Si hata nyinyi mmeangalia viti?
Bado ni form ukiwa na mtu mzee, unazaa mtu yako na ID. Unazaa mtu mkubwa.
Unakula chakula kwa kibanda?
Yeah. Gali. Chapo madondo.
Umekula madondo.
15 minutes nyuma ilikuwa imeshaisha.
Yes.
And mzee sasa alikuwa
ulijengewa mansion na 15 minutes.
Kwa imeshaisha.
Welcome back. Glad you're watching the Lunchtime News. Now, the Kenya Ports Authority, KPA, will not be privatized without consultation with the local leadership, which includes Coast Region members of Parliament. National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula has said. Wetangula further urged area leaders to consult with the government rather than opt for unconstitutional means like demonstrations to address their concerns.
The National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula was presiding over a function at Changamwe Secondary School where the area MP Omar Mwinyi expressed concerns over plans to merge Kenya Petroleum Refineries Limited with Kenya Pipeline Company without their involvement.
Na wasifanye maamuzi wakifikiria labda sisi hatutazungumza. Hata sisi pia siku hizi tumechangamka na tunaelewa kitu kinachoendelea. Wakitaka kufanya jambo lote watu fikirie sisi mwanzo.
Undanyi MP Danson Mwashako expressed concern over plans to privatize Birds 1 to 14 and Terminal 1 at the port. Wetangula reassured them of their concerns being addressed through consultations between the area leaders and the government.
Yale yote mmeniambia nitamwambia. Mambo ya port nitamwambia. Mambo ya refinery nitamwambia. Na yale yote ili aweze kusikiza, aketi na nyinyi kama viongozi, alafu mkubaliane.
Mwashako also confirmed their meeting with stakeholders this week, urging the Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen to have a sitting with them before any further actions in regard to the port's change of status.
Sasa sisi kama vuguvugu la Pwani ama Coast Parliamentary Group, tumesema hivi kutoka kesho saa 4. Tunaanza mazungumzo baina yetu wabunge kwanza wa Pwani, alafu tunawaita wale washikadau kamili wa poti yetu ya Mombasa, ili tujadiliane tuone tutaamua yapi.
The year 2023 marks the 140th anniversary of the arrival of the red Maasai shuka that has become synonymous with being Maa. This week on My Culture, we focus on the Maasai shuka. Take a look.
During the inaugural Maa festival that brought together at least 10,000 members from at least 15 Maa-speaking communities from Kenya and Tanzania, pomp and color characterized the festival, with those in attendance that donned in traditional regalia, red being the dominating hue, the Maasai shuka being recognizable at every glance.
The Maasai shuka is locally and globally recognized, but do you know where the vibrant and colorful cloth worn by the people of the Maa community of East Africa originated from?
The Maasai blanket or red shuka cloth is perhaps one of the most recognizable symbols of Kenya and the Maa identity.
Initially was pure red. Still here you can find some with pure red. But increasingly we are nuancing it a bit. We are not static. We innovate. I mean we have tests. I mean we adjust.
Blue and white, our flag, Maasai flag, is white on one side and blue on the other side. But red is the color we all love. So when we mix the three together, it brings out a beautiful color.
For the past century, the Maa culture has been on the rise, this year marking the 140th anniversary of the arrival of the red Maasai shuka that has become synonymous with the Maa community.
Earlier on, before the invention of the shuka, we were wearing, of course, hides and skins. And the hides and skin used to be colored red, oiled and colored red from the red volcanic soil. The warriors, when they are celebrating, always smear themselves what is called the red ochre. And you know we are people of blood. So one of the things that associated with our ceremonies and celebration is a shedding of blood, either for sacrifice or for a mother who just, a lactating mother or an initiate. So when the shuka came, we naturally lean towards a red.
The Maasai shuka defines a culture, people, and history. It is locally and internationally recognized.
Colors represent identity, so we have different subsections or sub-tribes within the Ma-speaking community. So each color and pattern represent your identity. So if I see these particular colors, then I know which side of the community or which section you come from. So the colors and how they are combined represent who we are and speak before you can ask. So you kind of sets up an identity.
In 1883, the Scottish explorer Joseph Thomson delivered the shuka to the Maasai. It has since become increasingly popular.
The red shuka is mostly for the southern Maasai and the Maasai in Central Rift. If you go further north, the shuka becomes a little flowery. The Samburu, actually, the name Samburu comes from the word or Sampuru Impuri, the butterfly. And so they are colorful people. And you can tell from the celebration here that the Samburu territorial section of the Maasai are the most colorful. They have a rainbow. And the Ariel, who are associated with the Rendile, who are our brothers from Marsabit, lean towards white. But the predominant color associated with the Maasai is red, and hence this shuka has come to be known as the Maasai shuka.
And I think the Maasai must have admired it, and so we decided we will wear different outfits and different colors. We chose specific colors that pleased us, and I think different communities chose different colors.
Since its arrival, the community has appropriated it as its own, modified it, and embellished it with beads and art to become the colorful Ma dress that is now the preferred cultural robe for many, including those from outside the community.
This is a Maasai shuka. It's the brand that is very clear, cultural brand for Kenya. And we share it with the rest of Kenyans. We see it in weddings, we see it in national functions. We have no problem sharing. We are part of this rainbow nation that is Kenya.
The Maasai shuka is classified as one of the highlights of the Ma culture. Jackie Wambiru, My Culture.
Let's now cross over to the Bomas of Kenya in the county of Nairobi. We do understand the bipartisan talks are underway in the area. My colleague Giverson Maina is on the ground. Let's cross over and listen in.
Opted because we are running short of time, and we appreciate the urgency of some of these issues to begin that process this Friday, and hopefully by the end of next week we should be able to conclude with that. We have also resolved that after hearing from the stakeholders, so that we benefit from the views and thought processes of other Kenyans, we shall then sit and now begin that difficult work of being able to bring all those views, those from our side and those from our colleagues' side, and benefiting from the knowledge of other Kenyans, putting them together, and hopefully within the 60 days, at the end of the 60 days that we give ourselves, be able to come up with a report that we have resolved all the issues that we put before us. Don't think there's anything more I could add, just to invite the co-chair, if he has anything to add.
Well, thank you, Mheshimiwa Kimani. I think you've done it well. I think we resolved to meet on Thursday, midday, to be able to also deal with interim measures. Both sides had a set of interim measures in order to prepare now the way for the actual engagement on Friday, hearing from the stakeholders. And so, Kimani has said there are issues of convergence. We don't want the media to walk out of here saying all agreed, because we all know, for example, there's convergence of the need to reconstitute the IEBC, but the how is not been agreed. So that is an area of convergence, for example. So I agree in principle that, things like those, and we are taking our work, of course, as seriously as can be imagined, and we want the country to know we are with you. Kimani has reiterated that now we'll be actually having open fora. On Friday, the media will be invited, and in fact, the whole of next week, because this will be open fora. We hope we'll get a bigger room within Bomas to be able to engage appropriately. When we meet on Thursday at midday, we will not invite you, but we will be dealing with, because we can invite you at the end as usual, at the end of our session, but we'll be dealing with this important matter of interim measures, which are also key, and they are confidence building measures. And for example, the difficult issue of the high cost of living, we will deal with it as an interim measure. How do we look at it? So that, again, I know that there will be probably memoranda that we presented, but these are some of the issues. On our side, for example, and we know that Kenya Kwanza have their list of interim measures. We want Kenyans to know that we feel with you, we stand with you, and we stand with each other as Kenyans. So here, we are a team. I thank you.
Tosha hiyo. Yeah.
Mine is just following on something you addressed.
All right, the bipartisan talks underway at the Bomas of Kenya. My colleague Giverson Maina is on that bit. Be sure to catch up with him in our subsequent bulletins for comprehensive news item. Now, let's cross over to business. The African Development Bank will finance the extension of the standard gauge railway line to Malaba. Roads, Transport and Public Works Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen says the SGR project is among major projects earmarked for private investments.
Phase 2B of the standard gauge railway from Naivasha to Kisumu is estimated to cost the government 380 billion shillings. The government now says the financing of the railway line is ready after successful talks between the government and the African Development Bank. Roads, Transport and Public Works Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen says the multilateral lender will also finance extension of the Kisumu-Malaba railway line that is expected to cost 122.9 billion shillings.
The process of acquiring 500-meter wide corridor on either side of the corridor of development of logistic hubs and industrial parks along the corridor. There is need for development of inland container depots in Moyale, Isiolo and other areas of inland container depot development. There is also need for private sector investment for railway development along the corridor.
The government says the tender to privatize the Lamu Special Economic Zone will be published soon as plans to privatize port operations to create efficiency.
We advertised for private investment in Mombasa Port because we recognize the advantages of working with the private sector who have the private capital, unlike government that doesn't grow its own capital to invest in.
Murkomen says the government is seeking to leverage on the private-public partnerships to complete mega projects in the country. Frederick Muki for Lunchtime News.
Kenya's economy grew by 5.3% in the first quarter of 2023. The National Treasury attributes the growth to increased agricultural activities that reduced food inflation, with the overall economy projected to grow by 5.5% this year.
Amid public concerns such as a high cost of living, high rate of unemployment, increasing tax burdens and wastage of public funds, government will be increasing investments in 5 strategic sectors including agricultural transformation, micro, small, medium enterprise economy, housing and settlement, healthcare, digital superhighway and the creative industry with an aim to reduce the cost of living, create jobs and achieve equitable distribution of income. This is according to the draft 2023 Budget Review Outlook paper. Government is also likely to maintain interventions that include the rolling out of fertilizer and seed subsidies and the granting of duty waiver for importation of key products such as white maize and feed additives in order to bridge the food stocks deficit as well as lower and stabilize food prices. This resulted in a growth of 5.3% in Q1 of 2023. Further, government aims to improve revenue collection through the broadening of tax base and controlling overall expenditure, targeting to grow total revenues to 17.9% of GDP the financial year 2023-2024 and above 18.3% of GDP over the medium term. As Treasury seeks views from stakeholders including members of the public on the draft 2023 Budget Review Outlook paper, no later than 22nd of September, government projects a growth in the economy of 5.5% and maintain a strong momentum over the medium term, backed by broad-based private sector growth, including continued strong performance of the services sectors and recoveries in agriculture. Regina Manyar reporting for Lunchtime News.
The government has been encouraged to consider increasing construction of storage facilities to reduce vegetables post-harvest losses. Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition Executive Director Dr. Lawrence Haddad says the organization will inject 1.5 billion shillings to strengthen the vegetable value chain that will include construction of cold rooms to increase production.
Early 2023 estimates indicate that around 5.4 million people would experience acute food insecurity between March and June 2023, with 1.2 million Kenyans experiencing an emergency. This is part due to inefficient food supply systems, especially the vegetable supplies. In a bid to reverse the trend, players in the agriculture sector are seeking to strengthen the country's vegetable value chain.
We want 1 million Kenyans to consume better vegetables, better diets. Vegetables are really key to prevent malnutrition, to have a good life, to give your kids the best nutrition they can possibly get, to help them do well in school.
Speaking at the launch of a program dubbed Vegetables for All, stakeholders attributed the low consumption of vegetables in the country to negative attitudes and post-harvest losses.
We've had a pilot in which we're looking at issues of safety, traceability, working with GAP compliant suppliers, and our approach is to work with over 5,000 vendors, last mile vendors.
GAIN is planning to pump 1.5 billion shillings to strengthen vegetable value chains to mainstream vegetables into the country's food system. Increased vegetable consumption is earmarked to increase the nutrition in the country. Alanako, Lunchtime News.
Experts are urging farmers to consider agroecological farming as a suitable approach against low agricultural productivity and food insecurity, as it focuses on conserving the environment for future generations. This, they say, will enable farmers to reduce their over-reliance on chemical fertilizers that are costly and shift to seeds that are resilient to threats arising from pests, diseases, and human intervention.
With the ever-changing climatic conditions, farmers are being encouraged to build resilient food systems that can withstand shocks and stresses. Agroecology proposes food system solutions by producing enough, safe and nutritious food, distributing it through shorter value chains, and providing farmers with a better income. Consequently, experts are calling on governments to protect indigenous and local people's land rights, as well as invest in agroecological training and infrastructure, supporting market access for trade in sustainably produced goods.
Agroecology and organic agriculture is one of the tools that they feel is able to help uplift our local economies and food systems. In what way? One is enabling communities to adopt farming practices that rely far less on fertilizers that they cannot afford, like chemical fertilizers and pesticides, but to rely on age-old, ancient methods of being able to work in tandem and in harmony with nature.
Additionally, they said there is a need to collaboratively build seed exchange networks among farmers and NGOs to conserve and share local varieties. This, they say, will reduce the challenges of soil fertility exhaustions from chemical fertilizers by farmers and enable them explore alternative agriculture practices that have fewer negative effects on agroecosystems.
It's time for us to stick to our original knowledge because we have been feeding the world. You see, what they called informal, the small-scale farmer, are feeding 80% of the world.
Ndusamo Kami for Lunchtime News.
Staff of embattled property developer Evergrande's wealth management units have been detained by police in Shenzhen, southern China. Police called on the public to report any cases of suspected fraud. Details of this and others in our international business roundup.
The takeover of the Evergrande insurance arm by a newly created state-owned insurer was announced on Friday. Evergrande is at the center of a crisis that has engulfed China's real estate industry since 2021. Recently, public security organs took criminal compulsory measures against dual and other suspected criminals at Evergrande Financial Wealth Management Company. No further details were given on how many people were detained, their identities, except for the person identified only as Du or what charges they could face. Police also said the case is still under investigation and investors could file complaints to authorities. Elsewhere, the mortgage delinquency rate in the United Kingdom increased by 13% in the second quarter of this year to reach the highest level since 2016. In the second quarter, the value of mortgage arrears in the UK jumped by 29% compared with the same period in 2022. The Bank of England has been raising the interest rate to get the chronic inflation back down, which, however, has driven up the mortgage repayment costs. Finally, according to Eastfruit, the export of potatoes in Ukraine for 6 months reached 19,800 tons. Ukraine last exported over 10,000 tons of potatoes in 2013, when 14,700 tons were delivered to foreign markets. It is noted that the export of potatoes for the first half of the year was 130% more than last year's figure and 280% more than the average over the past 5 years. Analysts note that potato prices in Ukraine remain fairly low and producers continue to produce low-quality products. Firdaus Omar for Lunchtime News.
In the world of sports, world silver medalist Emmanuel Wanyonyi clocked a world-leading time of 1 minute, 42.80 seconds to win the men's 800 meters and claim his maiden Diamond League trophy at Prefontaine Classic in Oregon, USA. Meanwhile, 10,000 meters champion Gudaf Segai of Ethiopia shattered Kenya's world 5,000 meters champion Faith Kipyegon world record after clocking 14 minutes and 0.021 seconds to win the race held at the same venue.
World silver medalist Emmanuel Wanyonyi stunned world 800-meter champion Marco Arop to take the win in the Prefontaine Classic. Wanyonyi clocked 1 minute 42.80 seconds to finish first ahead of reigning world champion Arop of Canada, who